So you've got soil that looks more like dry dust, heavy clay, or just plain dirt than a lush garden bed. Maybe you've tried planting before and nothing worked. Plants just wilted, turned yellow, or never even sprouted. You look at your yard or the patch of ground you've chosen and think, this is hopeless. But here's the truth, no soil is too far gone. That spot you're doubting right now can absolutely become a fertile garden bed bursting with life. I know it sounds almost unbelievable, but stick with me. Because by the time you're done watching this, you'll know exactly how to flip any lifeless dirt into rich, thriving soil that grows food, flowers, or whatever you dream of. And here's the exciting part. It doesn't matter if your soil is sandy and drains like a sieve, or if it's clay that turns into bricks in the summer, or if it's just compacted ground that hasn't seen a living root in years. Soil is alive, and even when it looks dead, it can be revived. Think of soil like a sleeping giant. Right now it's quiet, heavy, and unhelpful. But when you wake it up and feed it, it comes alive with energy. Underneath the surface, there are billions of tiny organisms, microbes, fungi, worms, that can transform the ground into fertile earth. They just need the right fuel. And once you give it to them, the change happens faster than you'd think. Here's what we're going to do in this video. I'll break down, step by step, how to turn bad soil into amazing soil. We're talking simple tricks that don't need fancy gear or expensive products. You won't have to buy truckloads of soil from the store. You won't need chemical fertilizers that cost money and harm the ecosystem. Everything I'm going to share can be done using materials you probably already have, or can get for free. We're going to start by tackling what I call dead soil. Dead soil is the enemy. It's compacted, starved of nutrients, and usually empty of life. Nothing thrives in it, and you can see it in the plants, weak stems, pale leaves, stunted roots. If your garden has ever looked like that, it's not your fault, it's the soil. Plants can only be as strong as the ground they grow in. But the good news? Soil can change. In fact, it loves to change. Once you start adding organic matter and building it up in layers, the soil transforms on its own. Worms move in, microbes multiply, roots dig deeper, and the soil literally rebuilds itself. You're not forcing anything. You're just setting nature in motion. And let me tell you, when you see it happen, it feels magical. You'll dig into your garden bed and instead of hard dirt, you'll find soft, crumbly earth that smells rich and alive. That's when you know your plants are going to thrive. So if you've ever felt discouraged, like your soil is just too poor to work with, this is your sign to start fresh. Because today, you'll learn how to create fertile garden beds anywhere, no matter what kind of ground you're starting with. Ready? Let's dig in. Step 1. Loosen that soil. No matter what type of dirt you're starting with, whether it's sticky clay, dry sand, or a patch of compacted ground, it needs air. Roots can't push through concrete-like soil, and without air pockets, water just runs off or pools on the surface. The goal here isn't to dig deep trenches or flip the soil upside down, it's simply to break up the surface enough so air, water, and life can get in. You can do this with a garden fork, a rake, or even just your hands if the space is small. Stab the fork into the soil, wiggle it back and forth, and let it crack open. You're not trying to till it into dust, you just want to open it up. This one step already makes a huge difference because roots and worms will find those cracks and start moving in. Now, step 2, add organic matter. This is where the magic starts. Organic matter is basically anything that once lived and can break down. Leaves, grass clippings, kitchen scraps, compost, straw, shredded newspaper, even cardboard. When you add this to your soil, you're feeding it. Think of organic matter as both food and medicine for the ground. Why is this so important? Because organic matter is the universal fixer. Got sandy soil? Organic matter holds onto water so it doesn't drain away in seconds. Got heavy clay? Organic matter loosens it up and helps water drain instead of drowning your plants. Even plain, lifeless dirt turns into a spongy, nutrient-rich base once you add enough organic matter. And here's a little secret. You don't even need to mix it all in. Instead of digging everything under, use a layering method, what gardeners call lasagna gardening. It's as simple as it sounds. Start with a layer of cardboard or newspaper to smother weeds. Then stack layers, compost, leaves, grass, straw, more compost. Keep piling until you've got a thick bed of organic matter. Over time, worms and microbes will do the mixing for you. They'll drag bits of it down into the soil and turn it into a dark, crumbly layer of goodness. This approach is powerful because it works with nature, not against it. When you flip soil with a shovel, you can actually harm the underground world by disturbing fungi and microbes. But when you layer from above, you're feeding the system gently, and the transformation feels almost effortless. Now let's talk about fertilizer. You don't need expensive bags of chemical pellets. Look in your kitchen, coffee grounds, banana peels, eggshells, and veggie scraps are all natural fertilizers. Coffee adds nitrogen, banana peels bring potassium, eggshells add calcium. Toss them into your compost pile or bury them shallowly, and they'll break down into nutrients your plants can use. So, to recap, loosen the soil to let air and water in. Add organic matter to fuel the underground life. Layer it instead of digging it under, and use free kitchen scraps as fertilizer. When you do these simple steps, you set the stage for a garden bed that can actually support strong, healthy plants. Alright, now that you've loosened your soil and started layering in organic matter, it's time to talk about the secret ingredient that makes the whole system work: life. A fertile garden bed isn't just dirt plus plants, it's a living ecosystem filled with creatures, some you can see and some you can't, that work together to keep your soil healthy. Think of it like building an underground city where everyone has a job. If you can attract and feed the right workers, your soil will practically grow your plants for you. Let's start with the most famous worker: worms. If you dig into your soil and don't see any worms, that's a red flag. Worms are like the gardeners of the underground. They tunnel through the soil, breaking it up so roots can spread easily. They eat bits of organic matter, and what comes out the other end, worm castings, is basically plant superfood. Worm castings are loaded with nutrients and helpful microbes. The more worms you have, the richer your soil becomes. To invite them in, keep adding mulch, compost, and organic scraps. Worms follow the food. Next up, microbes. You can't see them, but they're the real superheroes of fertile soil. Microbes break down organic matter into nutrients that plants can actually use. For example, nitrogen in a leaf doesn't automatically become nitrogen a tomato can absorb. Microbes make that conversion happen. They also form protective shields around roots, keeping harmful diseases away. If you've ever heard the phrase living soil, this is what it means: soil full of active microbes. So how do you get more microbes? The answer is simple: avoid harsh chemicals. Chemical fertilizers give plants a quick sugar rush, but they don't feed microbes. Pesticides and herbicides can even kill them. Instead, feed microbes with compost, compost tea, worm castings, and mulch. These natural inputs create a buffet for microbes, and when they're thriving, your plants thrive too. Now let's talk about fungi. More specifically, mycorrhizal fungi. These guys form networks that attach to plant roots, and they're like delivery trucks underground. They bring water and nutrients directly to the roots in exchange for a little sugar from the plant. It's a win-win deal. Without fungi, plants have to work harder. With fungi, plants suddenly have a whole support team. The good news is, if you stop disturbing the soil and start layering organic matter, fungi will return naturally. Here's another soil-building powerhouse: cover crops. These are plants you grow not to harvest but to heal the soil. Clover, rye, beans, and peas are excellent examples. They shade the soil, prevent erosion, and when you cut them down, they become mulch. Some, like clover and beans, even fix nitrogen from the air and add it directly to your soil. It's like free fertilizer that works while you sleep. And finally, don't forget mulch. Mulch is simply a protective blanket for your soil made from organic materials: straw, shredded leaves, wood chips, grass clippings. Mulch keeps the ground cool, locks in moisture, prevents weeds, and slowly breaks down into more organic matter. In other words, mulch feeds your soil while making your life easier. When you combine all these elements, worms, microbes, fungi, cover crops, and mulch, you create soil that doesn't just grow plants, but practically powers them. You'll notice stronger roots, greener leaves, fewer pests, and bigger harvests. It all comes down to one thing: building a living system. And once you start, the soil begins to take care of itself. So here's the truth: turning poor soil into fertile soil doesn't happen in one afternoon. But here's the exciting part: it happens faster than most people think. When you start loosening the soil, layering organic matter, feeding microbes, and mulching, you'll see changes within weeks. After just one growing season, the soil will already feel different: softer, darker, and more alive. And after a year, you'll be working with soil that looks and feels like chocolate cake: rich, crumbly, and bursting with life. The long-term payoff is huge. Once you build fertility, you don't have to work nearly as hard to keep it going. You're not constantly dumping in expensive fertilizers or buying new soil. Instead, you've built a self-sustaining system. The worms keep tunneling, microbes keep multiplying, fungi keep weaving their underground networks, and the mulch you add each season slowly turns into more organic matter. It's like setting up a cycle that runs on autopilot. Think of your soil like a savings account. In the beginning, you're making regular deposits, layers of compost, leaves, mulch, and kitchen scraps. Over time, that account grows interest, and once it's full, you start living off that interest. The soil becomes so fertile and alive that even with minimal effort, your plants thrive. You just keep topping it off with small deposits each season, and the cycle continues. And here's something a lot of people don't realize. When you heal your soil, you're also helping the bigger picture. Healthy soil holds more water, which means your garden becomes more drought-resistant. Instead of water running off or evaporating, it gets stored underground like a sponge. Healthy soil also stores carbon, which actually helps fight climate change. And fertile soil creates habitat for pollinators, bugs, and birds, which strengthens your whole local ecosystem. You're not just building a garden, you're building a little oasis of life. Another long-term win? Fewer problems. When your soil is fertile and balanced, your plants grow stronger. Strong plants are naturally more resistant to pests and diseases. That means fewer headaches for you and no need for harsh sprays or chemicals. It's a chain reaction. Healthy soil, healthy plants, healthy harvests. And speaking of harvests, get ready. Once your soil is alive and fertile, your garden will explode with growth. Vegetables will be bigger and tastier, flowers will bloom longer, and roots will anchor deeper. You'll find yourself harvesting more food with less effort than ever before. It's the reward for building that foundation. So let's bring it all together. If your soil looks dead, don't give up. Start small, loosen it, feed it with organic matter, layer instead of digging, attract life like worms and fungi, and always keep it covered with mulch. Over time, your soil transforms, and once it's fertile, it stays fertile as long as you keep feeding it little by little. And here's the best part. The sooner you start, the sooner you'll see results. Imagine looking at your garden a few months from now and seeing green shoots thriving where there was once only dust. That's what happens when you build fertile soil. You don't just grow plants, you grow the ground they stand on. And when you do that, the possibilities are endless. So grab your scraps, grab your leaves, grab whatever you have on hand, and start today. Because once you turn dirt into living soil, your garden won't just feed you, it will keep rewarding you season after season.